out in a second. Easy tune? Not the best tune, but it'll do. Shalom Aleichem to Meir. And Aryeh, look at that. And Mashiach, I should have said, and Mashiach. Perfect timing, Aryeh. And Aryeh just showed up. And of course, my mother watches every week, and David. David told me that when we come across Hashem's name, I'm supposed to say it. Will not say, shall have it ka. Just say Hashem's name. And I'm going to take his advice. If I burn in Gehinom, I'll point to him. And to Avital and Katie, who's going to watch eventually. She's supposed to join us. Everybody else who watches, Bezat Hashem. So, the concert, Shuvi played nicely, and everyone else there was very weird. Bunch of people playing Indian idol worship music, or who knows what in the world they were playing. And we're supposed to take it very seriously. And okay, I did what I was supposed to do. One less therapy session for Shuvi. Levi Yitzchak, I don't think I've ever been at one of his school events. And last Friday, he had a school event. And I was like, seriously, on Friday? That's like the worst day possible for me. But as my wife reminded me, you're probably the only man there that's cooking all the food for Shabbos. And I did it, and we got pictures. And I told them, there's one good picture put on the refrigerator, all the rest you can throw them away. I said, what? I'm saving these forever. It's the first event you ever went to. So that's 1 year less of therapy. That's how I count these things. At the same time, I'm trying to get done all the things I'm trying to do. It's really hard. Baruch Hashem. I'm working on a video now, an AI video of one of my very short stories. It's taken me probably 3 weeks. I'm maybe 2/3 done, and a 3-minute story. This is a crazy amount of work. And at least $200 so far in AI credits. Yeah, which I did not expect. But at this point, I'm too committed. I'm going all the way to the end. If it's a disaster, Hashem will send the money in some other way. So here we are back with my cough, Baruch Hashem, and we're continuing with Pei Gimel. Right? We're on Pei Gimel? Yeah, we're on Pei Gimel. So we're on 83. And this is a short lesson. We're going to finish this tonight. It's just really one page. It starts off with the quote from Mishlei, Rabbeinu Zal Potech v'Pasuk, Matan beseter yichpe af. That when a person gives tzedakah in an unknown way, then it turns away anger, meaning Hashem's anger. V'yeferesh kavanat pnimiyut, apasuk b'derech pli'it. He's going to explain the deeper meaning of this verse in a wondrous way. Yevaer is going to explain ketzad tzedakah mo'ila litaken et ha'af. He's going to explain how does tzedakah is effective in fixing the af, which is anger. Af is nose, but charon af, a long nose, is an expression of anger. And so how is giving the tzedakah helpful in suppressing the anger? Haba mechimat mikrei laila. That comes about through in a sperm emission at night, which would make a man impure. Now we're all impure, but still you would go to the mikveh. And in the days when the Beit HaMikdash existed, if a man had an emission at night, he had to go to the mikveh. And he's going to talk about that, but it's really symbolic of impurity and bringing anger. Da ki be'otiyot aleph bet yesh shisha pe'im. You should know that in the aleph bet there's 6 peis. Shesh pa'amim ha'ot pei. 6 times the letter pei. Dahainu, that is to say, ot aleph, the letter aleph at the end, it has a pei. Yefshar likro below pei. We can't say aleph we can't say al without the pei. We need to have the pei. V'gam otiyot kaf, chaf, pe, pesofit, the kuf, v'gam ken, yefshar likro otam below lehotzi mehape ot pe. We can't say those letters without saying the sound pe from our mouth. Nimtza, it follows, sheyesh be'aleph bet shisha pe'im. So we have these 6 pe's in the aleph bet. V'shesh pa'amim pe, elu, and these 6 times that we have pe, olim be'gematria, taf pe. They come out to gematria 480. Kaminyan lilit, like the name lilit, which is the name of a negative energy in the world. And it's also connected to Laila, which is the night, and it's also connected to the Mikre Laila, which is the sperm emission of a man at night. Shehi Sfirat HaMalchut Shel HaKlipa, which is the Sfira of Malchut of that Klipa, meaning, I guess, the part of the Klip, the part of that energy that. What is Malchut? It's when it finally comes into action in this world. Malchut is when all of the energy has come down and it's expressed in this world. V'hine chas v'shalom kshe'era la'adam mikre bilti tahor. Right, this is the nice religious way of saying it. And here, God forbid, when it happens that a man has a not pure emission or situation or circumstance, Hu al yedei haklipa hanal. This comes because of the klipa that we mentioned before, which is lilit, kayadua, as it's known. And as it's known, there's a whole quote here from the Zohar. It says that we know that the negative energy draws its sustenance from kedusha. So when a person is tempted to do a transgression, it comes about because the negative energy wants to get energy from that transgression. So that's where, when you're very passionate about doing something that you're not supposed to do, it comes from a place of the negative energy being passionate about getting its sustenance. So this thing in particular. V'hine ha'klipa anal yoneket min ha'alef bet Kaminyan Shama. And we have this klipa, which is the negative energy that draws its sustenance from the aleph bet that we counted before, which are all the pays. Hainu min shesh hapeim hana. That is from the 6 pays that we mentioned above. V'naaseh min shesh otiot pe, shesh otiot af. And so the letters of pe are pe aleph. And what does this negative energy do? It flips them upside down and turns the pe into af, which is anger, which is kind of like Hashem taking revenge on us. V'al yedei zen, through this, naaseh b'bchinat charon af. This brings about Hashem's anger, shenokemet ba'adam, which takes revenge on the person. V'alav machalot ula'arag et yeladav chas v'shalom. To bring a person sickness or to kill his children, and I added the part, God forbid. I'm not surprised that Rabbi Nachman didn't. Oh, because that's in the Perush here. God forbid, poo. Should know from those things. Lefichach amru abotenu zichroram levracha, and so therefore our sages, blessed memory, said, Ish v'isha zachu, when a man and woman are together, husband and wife, and they're doing things in the proper way, then they merit Shechina shora b'neim, that the Shechina is between them. And we know what the Shechina is, right? We've spoken about the Shechina many times. So when you have a couple that have shalom bayit, that have true shalom bayit, that have respect for one another, and get along with one another, and are following the laws of family purity, and doing everything they're supposed to do, in between those two people will be the Shechina. I mean, that is what the Shechina is. The Shechina is Hashem's presence in this world. So when you have a couple that's reached that state, it's natural that the Shechina would be expressed between them. Lo zachu, they didn't merit, hainu, shehu bilti tahor, that is that the husband is not pure, sheira lo mikra bilti tahor, al yedei klipan kanal, that the husband had a spermal emission because of this negative energy as mentioned above. Esh ochalto, then fire devours him or them. Umehechan ba esh so, and where did this fire come from? Kida ure'eh, you should know and you should see, ki ha'otiot atzman shel ha'pe'im, the letters themselves of the peh, the pez that we mentioned, klomar ha'otiot, that is the letters, sheyesh b'milu'am ot peh, that if we spell out the letters peh, like peh aleph, kshehem ba'atzmam binti hamilui, and also when we don't spell them out fully, ele rak kamo shektuvim kol ot levada, but just every letter as it's written on its own. Hainu aleph, kaf sofit, peh sofit, kuf, hanal, that is mentioned above. Heim gematria esh, those are the letters esh, they're fire. Anotrikan bo, which is we brought here. Al yedei shehi halilit hayoneket mehem, because it's the negative energy that draws its sustenance from them. He nokemet b'mi shenatan la koach, and she takes revenge. This negative energy, which has a female name, takes revenge from the person that she draws the sustenance from. So here you have the negative energy wanting to get its sustenance, it causing the man to do something that he's not supposed to do, and then the man suffers from doing that thing. And here you would think, well, you give the negative energy something that it wants, so you should get at least a reward, like not be punished. But on the contrary, you get punished, and you did the transgression. You get it all in one package. Shenoten tzedakah b'seter, when a person gives tzedakah in a hidden way, podeh hanetzetzot hakadoshot shenaflu el haklipa al yedei hamikre she'ira lo. When a person gives tzedakah in a hidden way, then they release the hidden holy sparks that fell into the klipa through this unwanted act. Shehu podeh otam al yedei tzedakah min haklipa, that the person releases or frees the energy by giving tzedakah. It frees it from the klipa. So first we had the klipa, the negative energy, wants you to transgress so that it can get its sustenance. As a result, you're going to suffer. But the tikkun for that is giving tzedakah, because when you give tzedakah, you take back what you gave to the negative energy. So that is the wondrous tikkun for this. V'na'asem mina'af ot peh. And by doing this, by giving the tzedakah in a hidden way, or in an anonymous way, then you turn back around the letters aleph peh into peh aleph. And so the aleph peh is anger, and now we're turning it back to the regular letter peh. Shezeu k'tiv matan beseter yichpeh af. And this is the meaning of, which we opened up at the beginning, when a person gives in an anonymous way, yichpeh af, melashon kofeh alav kli. That a person turns the af around. Yichpeh, like lahafoch et ha'af. Melashon kofeh alav kli. It's like taking a utensil and putting it over a person. Shehi hainu tevat kofeh lashon, and because the word, the kofeh, which is to release, is connected to aficha, is connected to opposite. Podeh is, kofeh is to put above. It's connected to haficha, is connected to opposite. V'zeh ichpeh af, and this is the meaning of you. What is the meaning of ichpeh af? Shekofeh v'hofech ha'af shenaaseh peh v'hu pil'i. That by giving the tzedakah, we turn the af, which is the anger, into the peh, which is connected to kofeh, which is connected to yichpeh, which is connected to haficha. All of these are connected. Meaning, so what is he trying to say here? Saying we have this situation where the negative energy causes you to tempt you to transgress, and he chose a specific transgression, but it can really be anything. And then a person says, okay, now I'm going to suffer from this because that's how it works. But I can fix it by giving tzedakah. So it's very simple. You go to one of the yeshivot here, like one of Batirand or wherever you are, and you put 10 shekels in the tzedakah box. That's beseter, because you're not like going to the gabbai and saying, here's my 10 shekels. You're just putting in the tzedakah box, and that's it. He says, now you pulled the energy back. And he just wanted to prove it in the text way that Rabbi Nachman proves it. Okay, so that's the lesson. Questions? Answers? You have a question, Ari? It's been a long time.
I'm kind of curious, where does Rabbi Nachman derive the connection between six pays and the word lilit, which has the same gematria, which is cool, but I'm sure there's other things that have the same gematria.
Oh, you're probably right.
So why dafka does he derive from the 6 pays?
Well, also the pay is af. It is af. So he's taking the letter pay aleph and saying it's connected to aleph pay, which is anger. So first he says this is also how he builds his lessons. He builds them in an artistic way, in a creative way. So first he says we have all these pays, and all the pays come out to 480. And 480 is equal to this negative energy that sounds like Lilith. That's the name. Right? You remember, what was the show? From Cheers? Frasier. Okay, Frasier. This was a comedy when I think I was in college, I don't even remember. And the guy was married to a Jewish woman, and what was her name? Lilith. And everyone knew that Lilith was the name for the devil. And she was a crazy woman. So he's saying, how do I get to this, to start with? How do I get to this Lilith? I get to it through all the pez. When I add up all the pez, I get 480. 480 is equal to her name. Said, okay, now I want to understand. When she tempts you, that causes the peh to turn to af. The af is anger. And then Hashem wants to take revenge for the transgression that you did. But you can now turn the af back into the peh by giving tzedakah. And he proves that by making the root connection of the word by saying kofeh, which is to put the vessel above, and then haficha, which is the same root, to turn it upside down, and now you pulled the energy back. Now, a lot of what we're learning here is just trusting that Rabbi Nachman wasn't, high and just making up stuff. We trust that he really was a tzaddik, that he really had a holy vision, that he was really saying these things from a very high place. Also, you always have to remember, I always picture him sitting in like a really run-down house in Ukraine. It was probably made out of mud or wood. And the floor is mud, and he's sick, and he's very thin, and he's wearing tefillin, and he's probably pale and missing a lot of teeth, and fasting all week long, and going to these incredible meditative places where he says, I have a new idea. And he says to whoever, Reb Nassim, bring the Hasidim together and let's learn. And they all sit together, and they're also all in pretty bad shape. And he gives over this, and Reb Nassim is writing it all down. And this was, in 1810 is when Rabbi Nachman died. And all these years later, we're sitting here, and not just us, people really all around the Jewish world, learning his teachings. So, what I get from it is that Hashem didn't abandon us. Hashem didn't just say, I'm going to create this world where you're just going to suffer, because sometimes things happen and there's no way for you to get the energy back. He says, no, you can always get it back, and here's how you do it. That's also the Tikkun HaKlali. He made the Tikkun HaKlali, which is 10 verses from Tehillim, which specifically he made for the Mikrei Laila, for when a man has this, that they should go to the mikveh and then say these verses. But these are all tikkunim that he brought into the world, and we trust that they work. Is that it? You have a question? Any other questions? Okay. Let's continue on to Pei Dalet. Rabbeinu Zal Makdim. Rabbi Nachman opens up with the verse, Ita muva b'Gemara. It's brought in the Gemara in Masechet Megillah. Rabbi Akiva sha'al et Rabbi Nechunya Hagadol. That Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Nechunya Hagadol, so there must have been a Katan and a Gadol, or he was the older one, or one of those. Bama he'erachta yamim. How come you merited to have a long life? Amar lo Rab Nechunya, and Rab Nechunya said, Vatran hayiti b'mamoni. I wasn't stingy with my money. Here it means I was generous with my money. And Vatran means I was willing to give money. Whenever somebody asked, I was willing to give money. So that's that's what we're starting off with. Yevaer sha'al yadei ritzonot v'kisufim. He's going to explain that through longing and desiring, yecholim liskot b'Torah u'b'sodoteha. A person can merit to learn Torah and its secrets. V'yasig et sodot Torah hagnuzim b'chol yom v'yom. And the person can grasp the secrets of the Torah, the hidden secrets of the Torah, every single day. Kafi habchina shel oto hayom, according to the whatever is being expressed in that day. So anybody who really wants to learn Torah, and there's many stories, including Rabbi Akiva, who really wanted to learn Torah, if you sit and just focus, eventually the Torah will get through. There are great stories I've seen. I probably told them. One of them was Baruch Mordechai, this guy who, when he was very young, he was blessed, I think, by the Chatam Sofer. And he eventually moved to Jerusalem, and he became a water carrier. And he couldn't remember any Torah. His whole life, he just wanted to learn Torah. He would sit. The guys in the yeshiva would make fun of him. They'd put the sefer upside down, and he would look at it and not remember where he was. They would switch the page to someplace else, and he'd come back and continue from where he thought he was before. And so he would spend the whole day working, carrying water, and he also carried the water for all the gedolim, all the great rabbis. He made sure to bring water to them. And then he would sit and learn, but for 70 years he couldn't learn anything. And then one Purim in the old city. There was some big rabbi, I don't remember his name. He got Baruch Mordechai really drunk, and I guess he was also born on Purim or something like that. And that's why he was giving the name. He got him really drunk, and he said, "Okay, enough of the nonsense, Baruch Mordechai. It's time for you to share some Divrei Torah." And everybody laughed because they knew that he didn't know any Divrei Torah. And then all the stuff started coming out of his mouth, things people had never heard before. And it turns out that when he reached the year 70, so the secrets came out. And there he was, trying his whole life to learn Torah, and he actually was learning Torah. It just wasn't fully expressed. So that's what he says here. A person that wants to learn the secrets of the Torah, as long as they stick with it, they will get to that, and the secrets can be revealed to a person every single day, each day depending on its day. לבאר זה כיצד קשור עניין אריכות ימים למידה של ותרן הייתי בממוני. To explain what is the connection between having a long life and the measure of not being stingy with your money, צריך לידע מה דאיתה שמובא בזוהר הקדוש. We have to know this passage that was brought in the Holy Zohar. And this is what it says. And I'm just going to read the Hebrew translation. בואו ראה, come and see, לששת ימי הבראשית, שהם ימי החול, for the 6 days of the week, which are the weekdays, לכל יום ויום יש פרצוף. Every day has a face. דהיינו, that is to say, מלאך של המדרגה ההיא. That is an angel of that particular spiritual level. שממונו על אותו היום להנהיג אותו. That is in charge of that day and how that day is going to progress. כגון ביום ראשון בחינת חסד. That is, on Sunday we have the attribute of chesed. ביום שני בחינת גבורה. And Monday we have the attribute of gvura, of stringency. וכולי, and so on. ולא תמצא יום שלא נאמר בו כי טוב. And you won't find a day where it wasn't said כי טוב, and it was good. כלומר, that is to say, אין יום שלא יתפשט בו אור החסד. There isn't a single day where the light of kindness or compassion won't spread out. ההולך עם כל הימים. That goes with all of the days. So every day has all of the attributes, but some days have more of those things. ועל ידי אור זה מתנהג העולם. And through this, the world not behaves, but the world functions. כי יום, because a day, היינו, כל הספירה השולטת באותו היום. When we say a day, that is the sphera, the attribute that is ruling or dominant in that day. יש לה מלאכים השומרים אותו כנגד מבחוץ. There are angels that protect it from the outside. שלא יכול כל אדם להיכנס לטוב ההוא. So that not every person is just able to go into that. Right? Let's say today is Sunday and it's a day where the main attribute is chesed. Not everybody is going to be able to access that chesed. להעסיק סודות התורה שיש באותו היום. To grasp the secrets of the Torah that exist on that day. והגדר הזה הוא כדוגמת החושך המכסה את האור. And what's blocking this is like the darkness which covers up the light. כדי שהרשעים לא ייכנסו ללמוד את סודות התורה. So that the people that are evil will not be able to come and learn the secrets of the Torah. Now, it makes me think of the Kabbalah Center. Berg is the family. And there's somebody who I know very well who was in the cult for many years. And he said, he and his whole family became Baalei Tshuva through the cult in Los Angeles. And he said, in the beginning, they're teaching real Torah. There's no culty stuff. There's no crazy stuff. And then eventually they get into stuff that they shouldn't be involved in and shouldn't be teaching and they shouldn't have access to. So, and according to him, the Berg father, I'm assuming he's passed away already, he had real powers. Like he could make people sick, and he could heal people, and he could do all kinds of things. That's what this person said. And I believe it. I mean, I know these things are there. You hear the stories of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now it's Gimel Tammuz coming up this week. So I was looking through lots of stories of the Rebbe. I have a story for tonight. The Rebbe does miraculous things. So if the Rebbe can do them, then somebody else can do them. It wasn't that the Rebbe himself was so special. It was that the Rebbe learned these things from his father, or from, the Baal Shem Tov came to him. I have no idea how they learned these things, but they're obviously a proper vessel for it. So my question was then, how can people like the Berg family learn these things if they're Risha'im, if they're evil? But that's one of those questions maybe for Olam Haba, I don't know. V'lechen, and therefore, Mishu Rasha v'nichnas lada'at et tzadot Torah, or maybe Rabbi Nachman's going to explain it. Therefore, somebody who is evil and wants to come in and learn the secrets of the Torah, Kama nechashim ve'akravim malbishim. Still on the Aramaic. Kama nechashim ve'akravim shehem malachim chabala mebalbalim et machshavato im machshavot ra'ot v'ta'avot. There are many serpents and, I don't know, crabs are kravim, but I'm not sure what it is. Some type of animal that is fighting back against the person. That these are essentially angels that are there to cause some type of damage. And they confuse a person's thoughts with bad thoughts and with desires. That a person should not go into the place in which is not fitting for them. So I guess that could be a partial explanation. They did learn these things, but they went into a place that they shouldn't have, and they used them for bad things. Nobody in the outside of the cult is saying that the Berg family are tzaddikim. So I guess in that sense it fits. Aval mishu tov tzaddik, but a person that's good and is a tzaddik, kol eile hashomrim, all of these guards, afilo shehem malachim chabala, even though their purpose as angels is to confuse a person and to fight back, naasim mezumanim pekudato lesayea lo. Instead of fighting against the person, they became available to help the person. Vekatrog hamalachim chova ele hashomrim. Wait, am I? No, hamelamdim chova ala adam. Okay, so they instead of trying to confuse a person, now they find merit in the person. Tahainu malache chabala naase sanego. That is, that these angels that are meant to protect and fight back, they become your defender. They speak on your behalf. Malitz tov letzadikim hanal. They are speaking on behalf of these tzadikim. Shomrim elo atzmam machnisim oto letov haganuz. And these angels that are supposed to protect from anybody going into the secret places of the Torah, they actually bring this person into the Torah, the righteous and good person. They bring them into the secret rooms, shehem sodot Torah, which are the secrets of the Torah, ha mamlitzim alav lifnei Hashem yitbarach, and they say to Hashem, you can trust this person. Yomula kadosh baruch hu, they say to Hashem, Adonenu, Hashem, our God, Adam zetov, this person is a good person, tzaddik v'yirei shemayim, is a tzaddik and has awe of heaven. V'hu rotzeh lavo lefanecha, and he wants to come before you. Lasig et ahu hatov ganuz, he wants to understand the good, the hidden good. Oto hatov ganuz, that same hidden good. V'yomar lahem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem says to them, Pitchu lo ashar hazeh, open up this gate for this person, v'nikra ava, that's called love. Shehu Sfirat Chesed, which is the attribute of Chesed, of kindness. או באותו השער הנקרא תשובה, or the gate that's called tshuva, shehu sfirat habina, which comes from the attribute of bina, which is understanding. O sfirat malchut, or the sfira of malchut, kol tzaddik ikanes v'yasik lefi madrigato ad kan lashon hazar. Every tzaddik will be able to take whatever they can from this hidden place, and that's what the Zohar said. Okay, and that's where we're going to stop for today, and we'll continue next time. Bezat Hashem. We'll remember where we left off. So I have a short story of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of course. There were really many great stories, so many stories. I'll tell two stories. I'll tell the first story that I came across, which was very short. This woman, there's a picture of her. You see a woman like with a handkerchief on her head, holding $3, and her husband standing next to her, and the Rebbe has the dollars on the table. That's the picture that they had. She said she was married, I think, for 20 years or something like that, and they didn't have kids. And somebody said, the Rebbe does miracles, he does open miracles, go to dollars, thousands of people line up, and he gives out $1. So she went and she told the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, you and her husband have to keep Ta'arat HaMishpacha, which means that there are certain times during the month when men and women, the husband and wife can't touch, and ways of behaving, and all kinds of laws, and going to the mikveh. And he gave her $3. So they right away went across the street and bought a book in English about Ta'arat HaMishpacha, and they started learning and started doing everything. Within a few months she was pregnant, and 2 months after she learned that she was pregnant with triplets. And she gave birth to all three, and all three of them were healthy and married, and then when she was 40 years old, she gave birth to another kid. And what was interesting was, she said that 6 weeks later, the Rebbe had a stroke, and then not long after that, the Rebbe passed away. So they didn't know if the bracha was going to come true, but obviously it did. Okay, so that's one. You know, you see the Rebbe handing out $3, and you think, is the Rebbe even doing anything? Like what? And you see the videos, the Rebbe just like, here's $3, bracha v'atzlacha. $3, and here's $1, bracha v'atzlacha. You might even like that. And then all these miracles are happening. I told you, of course, I've told this story many times of the Jew for Jesus that came to the Rebbe. He came with his book. Yeah, and he said, I want to, like he holds it like this, not to offend the Likutey Moharan. He holds it like, Rebbe, I wrote this book, and it proves that Christianity is the real religion and that Judaism is a false religion, and I'd like the Rebbe to have it. And he says, please give it to me. He said, do you have any more? And he said, I can bring more. He's like, bring them all. And then the guy goes away and he goes, spits on it and throws it in the garbage. Of course, the Reform rabbi I told you about, I'm not getting to this story yet. Got a couple minutes. This poor Reform rabbi, he came to the Rebbe. I've told you this, right? And he said, Rebbe, I decided to become a Baal Tshuva. And the Rebbe said, great. He said, so I'm going to leave the Reform temple. He said, no way. You go back there and make everyone Baalei Tshuva. And you see him like a year later, and he looks like he's really aged a lot. And he said, Rebbe, I can't get everyone to become a Baal Tshuva, but many families are willing to follow me on my path. Can I leave the Reform temple now? He said, no, go back and make everyone Baalei Tshuva. I don't know what happened in the end, but this poor guy, here he wants to do something good. And the Rebbe's like, yeah, but the real good is getting everybody else to join you. There was a guy here in the neighborhood, Bert. I don't know what his story is anymore. He came to Simchat Shlomo, to Reb Shalom's yeshiva, and he was a full-on Reform rabbi and a Kohen. And they had a congregation for many, many, many years, and he became a hardcore Chabadnik. The Shalom sent him to the Mayanot yeshiva. At Mayanot, he became full-on Chabad, and the shul split. Half the shul went with him and became Chabadnikim, and the other half did their own thing or whatever it was. It's all documented. And that was long after the Rebbe passed away. Okay, so here's the story. There's a guy, I don't think it says his name, doesn't say his name. He stopped this woman, doesn't say her name either. I guess she was it says that a woman from the Chabad Lubavitch community in Brooklyn was pulled over by a New York police officer, given a ticket. And he said, do you happen to be Lubavitch? And she said, yes. He said, I have a miracle story from the Rebbe. Can I tell you the story? I don't get to tell it to too many people. She said, sure. So this policeman used to be part of the escort of the Rebbe to the Montefiore cemetery where the Ohel is. And so there was like a motorcade that would take the Rebbe. I don't know if they paid the police or the police had nothing to do. I have no idea how that works. I don't think you get very many motorcades here in Israel. We do see them, right? So he was part of the motorcade. He's not Jewish. And he sees all these people coming over to the Rebbe, and he sees the Rebbe going to the Ohel with all these notes. And he asked one of the other policemen, what's going on here? What is the rabbi doing? And he said, oh, he's praying for all these people. All these people asked the Rebbe for miracles, and he's praying for them. So he said, does he also help non-Jews? And he said, sure. Why don't you ask him? What you do next time is you'll stand next to his door when he comes out of the car. You talk with him. So the next time he did that, and he said, Rabbi, I want to know, do you help non-Jews? And he said, I try to help everybody that I can. And he said, I've been married, me and my wife have been married for 9 years, and we don't have any kids. Can the Rebbe bless me to have kids? So he said, write your parents' names and their parents' names, and I'll daven for you at the gravesite of my father-in-law. And so he said his hand was trembling when he was writing because he was so nervous in the presence of the Rebbe. And but he said the Rebbe treated him like a good friend. He tried to calm him down. And let's see, it was 9 months later that his wife became pregnant with a baby boy. And he said, we're naming the boy Mendel. And the family was very upset because they were not Jewish at all. And they said, with a name like Mendel, everyone's going to think he's a Jew. He's going to get beaten up because they think he's a Jew, and he's going to be abused and who knows what. And he said, good. I'm going to teach him how to fight, and he's going to be the one that teaches people not to hate Jews. The name Mendel sticks. And they named the kid Mendel. So that's the story. And Zchuto yagen aleinu, Be'ezrat Hashem. The memory of the Rebbe should protect us. All the Rebbes, Rabbi Nachman and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, I'm sure they have a chavruta at least once a week. Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so since we're going to sing Chabadnik at the end.